Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining me for this launching edition of Exploitation Nation, the web show, TV show here, where we're going to talk about movies, DVDs, Blu-rays, and all that kind of stuff. VHS, you know, we're going to reach back into the past, talk about that. So we'll see how this goes. Maybe it'll be a regular thing. So to launch the show here, we're going to do the first segment, talk about some new DVDs, Blu-rays, you know, that kind of thing, the disc media. Got a couple of DVDs from those fine folks over at Synapse Entertainment. Synapse does a great job, you know, remastering stuff. They're kind of bar none with, you know, rescuing things, putting it together, doing a great remastering job. They're doing some of the best work out there with their Blu-rays. They're getting a lot of accolade for, you know, their remastering of Intruder, Maniac Cop, Frankenhooker. If you go out on the various blogs on the net right now, including the Exploitation Nation blog, you'll see reviews for those films, and you'll see the amazing work they've done. But they also put out a lot of indie movies. And, you know, they've got some great smaller titles on DVD that aren't getting a lot of acclaim. They're not getting a lot of attention. So I want to talk about a couple of those here. One of those movies is a movie called Frat House Massacre. This kind of came out and didn't get a lot of attention, and it is a fine little movie. Frat House Massacre is from a director named Alex Pucci, or Pookie, I don't know if that's the right pronunciation, and produced by Alex Esber and Alex Pucci, which is kind of interesting. I was watching this movie and saw Alex Esber's name came up, and I went to college with Alex Esber, which was really kind of unique. But Frat House Massacre is kind of cool because number one, you see a title like Frat House Massacre, and that sort of suggests a certain amount of, you know, you want a massacre when you see a movie called Frat House Massacre, and it fucking delivers a massacre by the end of the movie. But it's cool because it's got a really complex storyline. There's a lot going on in Frat House Massacre. It's not just, you know, a hack and slash movie. It's not just a maniac loose on a campus. So what you got here is you got two brothers, very close-knit family, being raised by the maid because their parents have died. They're both about to go off to college. They're about a year apart. One of them dies in a car accident while the other one has gone off to college. Flash forward a year later, the brother who survived is now off in college, kind of a recluse, not doing so well handling it. And turns out that the kids who were responsible for his brother's death are now in a fraternity. But what's going on with that is that these kids are kind of son of bitches. They are rushing kids in their fraternity to death. They're putting them through their paces in the rush night until they force them into killing themselves, with the leader of the fraternity in particular being sort of this megalomaniacal son of a bitch who can sort of talk people into committing suicide or killing themselves, or his brothers into doing really horrible things. And so you have the brother who, from the beginning of the movie, who survived, sort of on the outskirts of this, you know, kind of watching what's going on and getting involved. And then you also have the girlfriend of the brother from the beginning, now involved with this fraternity. Partway through the movie, you start wondering if something supernatural isn't going on, if maybe the surviving kid isn't been possessed by his dead brother, and it gets into some weird territory there I wasn't so crazy about. Once the supernatural thing starts getting involved, I was like, eh. But when you're getting all of the stuff with the frat guys, there's this really strange homoerotic element in there that is this really interesting critique of male bonding and what goes on in college, and there's this really strong overlying element of just, you know, strong eroticism and everything that's going on, like the eroticism of violence, the eroticism of male bonding, and it's a really strong, intelligently made movie, but it's also horrifically violent, horrifically violent, and it just really delivers on the horror. And then you get to that last reel where the massacre happens, and all bets are off. So it's really a cool movie. So we'll take a look at some clips here, or at least one clip, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's some good stuff in Frat House Massacre. Take a look.
Welcome your newest brother. Tim.
Alright, no one talks about this. You hear me? No one. Everyone get the fuck out, it's 4 in the morning. Hurry up!
What do you think, boys? You dealt out your material?
Where's Sean?
I think he left.
Final test.
There you go.
So I hope that gives you an idea what you're getting. You know, it's a little movie. You know, I don't want to say very low budget, but it's low budget. Not even less than some other movies you see that go straight to DVD, but certainly lower budget. But it's really, really well made, really well done. Not without some humor, but it delivers on the exploitation elements. So give it a shot. It's, you know, not getting a lot of attention, but it's worth your coin, I think. So check it out. Frat House Massacre. The other one, also from Synapse, that's, you know, kind of creeped out right now, is this movie called South of Heaven. This one's really, really weird. It's got like kind of a lower level known cast. It's got Shea Wingham.
I want you to use that knife to make the letter T.
And was in Machete, sort of a character actor. It's got a bunch of other people here. Let me look here. It's got John Grease, which you may not know the name, but as soon as you see his face, you're going to recognize him. He's another character actor.
How do you like your eggs?
It's got Alina Lowison.
I could make some of that pain go away.
Who was in Schindler's List, who's in Nadia. It's a movie filled with faces. You may not know those names, but when you see them, you're going to be like, okay, I know these folks from lots of other movies. This is kind of an indie movie. It was the kind of movie you probably would have did a lot of festivals, but didn't probably get a lot of attention. It's an art film. It's a revenge film. Not quite an action film, but a kind of a weird comic book crime drama about, once again, two brothers. one of whom is a son of a bitch, the other one who's just come back from the war. This kind of takes place, I'm assuming, during World War II, but because of the over-stylization, it's sort of hard to tell. But he comes home to his brother's apartment where apparently a murder has happened, but he has no idea. And these two hitmen, who are dressed in very like over-stylized comic book, almost like circus outfits, come in and think that he is his killer brother and continue to beat the shit out of him for half the movie. For like the first half of the movie, they continue to come back and beat him up and beat him like almost retarded, and they cut off most of his fingers along the way because they think he is his brother. At some point they realize he isn't, but they continue to beat him and hurt him because they think he knows where his brother is. His brother is actually out on the run with the Shea Wingham character, which is a guy named Mad Dog Manti, who is this crazy psychotic who has taken this other girl captive in a heist gone wrong. Now, Mad Dog is, you know, the epitome of his name. He's a crazy, you know, bank robber, killer, rapist, and they have gone on the run with this girl, and apparently they had once again killed somebody in the apartment earlier. And what the main character doesn't understand, I should probably start calling people by their names. Roy Coop is the main character. What Roy doesn't understand is that there is a severed head in that apartment, and that's what these guys are looking for, is that missing person that Mad Dog has killed. And so it's all this big weird film noir. But the film noir element is very over stylized with lots and lots of prime colors. There's an opening sequence that's animated that actually shows you a lot of the backstory. It's just all really hyper stylized and well done. Not quite like anything else I've seen, actually. I can't name another movie like this. The second half of the movie becomes sort of this road movie and then this really hyper stylized revenge movie. I guess you can compare some of it to almost like Darkman, but it's not goofy, like stupid humor like Darkman. Not the biggest fan of Darkman, actually. Just take a look. I can't really just do this justice describing it. Just take a look at this clip.
A question is going to be asked. One that only you can answer. If you answer it correctly, you'll see a smile on my face. If you don't, well, you won't. You want to see that smile, Mr. Coop. Now, here's the question. Where is Becky Barnes?
Who?
Give me your hand, Dale.
My name's not Dale.
Do we still have a misunderstanding?
No.
Then give me your fucking hand, Dale. From now on, every piece of Bobo's daughter you send for the sake of being square is gonna take two from you.
Definitely. Bobo's a badass.
With a capital B.
No. 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 Ah!
It's a weird flick. It's not going to be to everybody's tastes. I liked it. At times it goes a little too far left field and doesn't come back. It doesn't, or in fear it might not come back, but I think it works. if you're a fan of this sort of weird indie film, I think you should check it out. I think that you guys might like it. So, South of Heaven, once again, another Synapse title, not getting a lot of attention. I think it deserves it, so check it out. So these are two Synapse titles I think that deserve a look. Give them a chance. Okay guys, I'm back, and this is a segment I like to call my bootleg life. A lot of you kids today, you kids, stay the fuck off my lawn. A lot of you guys today, you get a lot of your stuff through torrents or direct hot links, things like that. Back in the 90s, we used to have to get things on bootleg VHS. We used to do tape trading and things like that. Became DVD-R trading, and then it eventually became torrents. You know, when you were a hardcore movie collector, things weren't so easy to get. You know, you wanted to see, say, Lucio Fulci's The Beyond, you couldn't go down to the video store and get it. You had to know somebody who had an import laserdisc or an import tape that would tape you a copy, and they would give you one, or you had to buy it from them, or you had to trade them. It was, you know, it was like being a part of an inner circle back in the day. So it was kind of it was an interesting time. You know, you couldn't click a button and download it to your computer and watch it and keep it on a hard drive. It was a completely different time. There's a lot of contention about, you know, bootlegs and, you know, were they criminals, were they blah blah blah, and you know, I guess it's a debate for a different day. If you were selling stuff that was legitimately available, you know, that wasn't cool for sure. There's a lot of people who still do that, and I think those people are kind of pieces of shit. But, you know, if you were trading stuff that wasn't around and you were keeping it alive, it was a whole different world. But I want to talk about stuff that was just only being circulated that way. Stuff that was, you know, being hand to hand given to one person to another, and that's the only way it existed. You know, I still have a whole basement full of tapes, VHS tapes, and kind of obsessive compulsive that way. I don't know if that I'm one of those VHS collector types. I just don't throw shit away. But back in 1995, I went to my first Chiller Theater convention. Myself and my girlfriend at the time, Christy, who is now still my girlfriend after all these years. Very strange, but very good. We made the trip because we specifically wanted to meet Rudy Ray Moore. He was one of our heroes at the time, still is, God bless his soul, rest in peace. So we made a 13-hour drive to Chiller Theater just to meet Rudy Ray Moore, and it was worth it. It was everything we wanted it to be and more. And Rudy Ray Moore. But it was kind of our first experience with bootleg dealers. We didn't know you could go someplace and there were people with tables set up where you could buy bootlegs and trade bootlegs, and people had just tons and tons of stuff. So I walked out of that place with a suitcase full of bootleg tapes. And we met a couple of bootleggers there. I don't know their names. But who kind of became our pals by the end of the weekend, because we were buying stuff and they were discounting stuff. And you know, I bought stacks of stuff there that I had been wanting for ages. I got like the Guinea Pig movies and Tetsuo 2 and things I had been wanting for a long time. But one of the things I got from them was this thing called Video Screams. It's a compilation, one of my first compilations. My first compilation I got from Chaz Ballin, that I had traded with him for, but maybe I'll talk about that on a different show. But this, Video Screams, is unique, and I still have the tape, and I've made a DVD-R backup of it that I in turn traded and sold for years later. But it was the first place I was able to see a lot of stuff. On this compilation there was the Street Trash short film, which was Street Trash originally was just a short Super 8 film that they passed around to try to get money, and that was on here. It looked like crap, but it was on here. This was the first place ever, and this was the deciding factor of why I got this tape, was Apocalypse Poo and Blue Peanuts. Now you can just go on YouTube and watch those, but at the time those were like whispered about. It was like, you know, I saw them talked about in Film Threat magazine, but besides that, you know, that's all you knew. if you had to know somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody that had Apocalypse Poo. Otherwise, you didn't see it. So I was like, holy shit, this tape has Apocalypse Poo on it. Fuck yeah, I want it. Had some trailers. It had I Drink Your Blood trailer and Make Them Die Slowly trailer, so that was cool. It had Caruncula, which was the first short film by Mario Bueno, who had went on to do some other films that I was interested in, but I had heard about Caruncula. Had some Bondage trailers, which at the time I was like, okay, well, I'll look at those. Had Lee Press on Limbs, which was this really funny animated short film. Had the Dr. Butcher trailer. Had a Penn and Teller short film, because that was the Penn and Teller video for $109 that they did with Lydia Lunch. This was way before Penn and Teller were just like the libertarian activists that they are today. This was back when they were funny, and they, you know, were still doing magic, and instead now they weren't punching shit down your throat. It had the Geraldo Brawl. Remember when Geraldo had his whole set exploded into mayhem, and you know the guy was getting choked and chairs were thrown and Geraldo got his nose busted? It was awesome. And then it had something that it had a couple of things actually. I wasn't real big on like Mondo stuff and death footage at the time. Later I kind of became an expert on that stuff, which is a little weird. But this was kind of one of my first introductions to it. It had something called Gimme a Break, which turned out to be a Japanese TV show hosted by these two very perky hosts. And on its surface, it just seemed like this, like sort of, oh look, it's a Japanese variety show. Look at this, we're going to talk about blah blah blah. And then it would cut to like all this horrible shit from around the world. It'd be like, oh look, here's the Challenger tragedy. Oh look, here's like the horrible pileup on the raceway. And then they would cut back and they'd be like, oh, I saw da 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 da. And then they would cut back and there's like, you know, people being gored and by bulls, and it was one of the weirdest goddamn things I'd ever seen. But it was crazy. And then they have on here, I can never remember the name of the race. It's in, I want to say Spain or somewhere in Europe, where it was this off-road race where people would sit around watching off the side of the road, and if you got plowed into by the car, tough shit, that was your fault for being there. And people were just getting run over by the dozens, and cars were flipping over and running off the road and killing people left and right, and they would just back off the road and keep racing, and no one cared. It was like, that's your own fault. You were there, you shouldn't have got in the way. There's a ton of footage of that, of people just getting plowed over and run over. It was totally disturbing. Lots of sports atrocity footage on here. And then of course there's the, they call it blast off on here, but it was the Bud Dwyer footage, which I had seen before and didn't really want to see again, but it's on here. And then lots of other stuff. There's some the footage from Necromantic and things like that. But it was kind of cool because this was my first exposure to a lot of this stuff, and it was kind of special to me because it was a special trip that I made with somebody who was special to me. It was the first trip I had taken on my own, first trip in the car. That was my first real car. Everything about it was cool, and so this tape, I'm glad I still have it. You know, I made my own label for it and everything else. So I still have it. I'm glad I have it backed up. So it's a cool compilation. So there you have it. Video Screams, one of my early bootleg life memories. So I hope you guys enjoyed me jumping down memory lane with that. There you go. So my bootleg life, Video Screams. So this is my segment on Netflix streaming, where you find a lot of hidden gems on the Netflix stream. What makes it cool is there's a lot of little movies that you may or may not have heard of. They sort of pack it in there. A lot of people look to the Netflix stream to see the new stuff. They're like, oh, I want to see this movie or that movie. But if you poke and prod around in there, you're going to find lots of hidden gems, older movies you may not have heard of or forgotten about that are getting used to sort of fill space. But there's a lot of just cool stuff you forgot about or have never heard of that is worth looking for. And one of the movies I found recently that I really, really liked was this movie called SCREAMTIME. This British movie called SCREAMTIME. Now I'd read about SCREAMTIME in the Flesh and Blood Compendium, this British book from The Flesh and Blood Compendium, this British book from Fab Press, which is a compendium of old articles from the magazine of the same name. It was a write-up from Stephen Thrower, who wrote the incredible Nightmare USA, which is an amazing book. If you haven't read it, you really should. But that was the only place I had ever heard of this. You know, I vaguely had remembered the title. So, you know, Saturday night, my buddies Nick Williams and Mike Ritchie and I sat down and watched it. And we got a really big kick out of it. We were like, this is a cool movie. It's this British anthology with 3 stories and then a new New York shot wraparound. It's directed by a guy named Michael Armstrong, and then I guess the New York was this Stanley Long. So it's a weird thing. What it actually is I guess in Britain they used to have short films that they played in the theaters before features, and this was in the 70s. And then at the rise of the video boom here in the United States in the 80s, they took those short films, packaged them as a feature film, a la SCREAMTIME, and then added that new wraparound. So what you have is this new wraparound, which is these couple of New York City thieves rob a video store and take the videos home, and while their prostitute girlfriend is getting ready for work, they decide to watch these horror flicks. And then that's what you get, are these three cheesy horror films. The first one being about this puppeteer who does Punch and Judy shows and his really shitty home life, and then eventually the puppets start killing them off, or maybe it isn't the puppets at all. The second one is the best story, where there seems to be this haunted house, and they've just moved in, and the lady keeps seeing ghosts on the lawn, and like, you know, ghosts, you know, of bodies being dragged through the house and things like that, until it's really slow. It's the slowest of the bunch, and it seems like it's dragging on and not going anywhere till it gets to this payoff that makes everything mean something else. And I've never seen a payoff like that before, and it really was, it made the whole movie, not just that segment, the whole movie. It was such a cool twist and payoff that I was like, holy shit, this makes it. I've never seen something like that. Then the third one's just goofy as hell, about garden gnomes that are actually alive and watching over these old ladies' little, you know, garden in their little brownstone home, and these, once again, these thieves that decide they're going to come in there and rob it, and the garden gnomes end up being played by dwarves, and totally goofy, but still fun. I mean, it's goofy fun, and there's some fairies in there and stuff too. Really the dumbest of the three, but you know, but if you get a kick out of seeing little dwarves dressed as garden gnomes kicking the shit out of people, you'll enjoy it. So, you know, take a quick look, and I don't have the actual movie, so this quality isn't going to be so good, but take a look anyway.
Pretty good.
You see what I'm talking about. But Scream Time, I've only found like 3 reviews for this, including the Fab Press book, which, you know, Stephen Thrower didn't give it a very good review back in the day. But the 2 reviews I found online were really crappy, including some condescending piece of shit blog where everything on the blog was given bad reviews, even movies that are legitimately good, so fuck that guy. But everything else was just, people don't get it. I sometimes question why people watch these kind of movies. They seem to either watch them just to pull them apart and laugh at them and say, oh, ha, 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 I'm better than these kind of movies. Or they go into them legitimately thinking that they're going to be like high budget, really scary, you know, highbrow movies, and when they're not, they're frustrated and hate them. They don't seem to go into these kind of movies with the right sense of fun and, you know, understand that the filmmakers were trying, and, you know, you have to sometimes be thankful for small favors. So I don't know. I legitimately like it. It's, you know, it is low budget, it is goofy, sometimes, you know, it doesn't work, but that middle segment is legitimately works. It's legitimately good. So I don't know. Check it out. I liked Scream Time. You know, it sometimes doesn't work, but when it does work in that middle segment, it works really well. So keep digging around on the Netflix stream. If you find something that you guys think is good, you know, go to the Exploitation Nation blog or send me an email and drop me a line and let me know if there's something you think's good. You know, let's let each other know. There's gems out there to be seen. So, all right, I'll talk to you soon on here. We're going to go to the next segment. Thanks. Last but not least, I want to have a little talk about, you know, a lot of you guys are VHS collectors and VHS fans. I know that's become a really, really big deal on the net. You know, there's YouTube videos about collecting VHS and, you know, whatnot. I want to talk about this movie. My friend Alan Richards, who runs Be Independent, had written up this movie years ago as the one movie he couldn't get through. It was like the worst movie he had ever seen. And we got talking about it recently, and he, you know, it came back up. He sent me this copy to watch, and sure as shit, it is really bad. It's not on DVD, and probably should never be. It's a movie called Bangers with Kitten Natividad, though she's only in one scene. It's also known as Zombie Gangbangers, which is actually a much more legitimate title for it. It is directed by, I don't even know if it says who it's directed by, and I don't know that it matters. Yeah, it doesn't say, and I don't really know enough to care. But it is actually stars Stephanie Beaton, who's really a nice looking lady, and she's in tons of low budget stuff around the time this came out, like late 90s, early 2000s. Really pretty, red hair, you know, slender, long legs. She's like a B-movie actress, and she was in this and tons of other stuff. This is just... I did a review of this on the Exploitation Nation blog, where I didn't actually review it as much as I blogged as I watched it, because it's a car crash. And there's nothing you can do but like do on-set reporting from a car crash. And that's how I handled it. Yeah, there's no other way. This is about a... it doesn't even really have a cohesive story. There's this gal, played by Stephanie Beaton, who's a stripper, prostitute, or whore, as they continue to call her in the movie.
I am not a whore, detective. I just go out with my friends.
And screw them for money? Is that what you do, Alice? Is that what you do?
I have to. It's my job. I can't find a job. The economy is hell, the president is a Democrat, and they're dumping crack in Compton.
And there's zombies running around, but they don't eat people, they rape people. They're zombie rapists. And they have a particular liking for her, for some reason, and they rape her like 3 or 4 times through the movie. And then anytime she attempts to tell people, they beat her up and rape her too.
It's the biggest bunch of horse crap I've ever heard. You know, I'd like to rape you myself. Would that make you happy? Maybe you'd be happy if I were a zombie.
Oh, you smart ass.
No, that's 2 counts of slapping an officer. Are you complaining or something?
No, I'm sorry.
No, you're not. You're a liar and you enjoy these slappings.
No, I don't. Look at me. They beat me, they rape me, and they abuse me. Look at my bruises. How much more proof do you want, for Christ's sake? Does it look like I'm enjoying myself?
Do you want more? Because I can lock that door for privacy and kick your little zombie ass. I know what you are. You're a whore. You're a slut. And you're gutter trash.
You sorry son of a bitch.
You know, there's only one way to deal with your kind. They say you treat a whore like a lady and a lady like a whore. But I'm going to make an exception in your case.
What are you doing?
I'm locking this goddamn door.
Well, no.
I'm a son of a bitch, remember? Now I'm going to be your little zombie.
You gotta help me stop being raped.
That's right. They're going to beat you, and the zombie's going to rape you, and then we're going to drop all the charges.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Until about 2/3 of the way through the movie, she manages to find someone who's a mad scientist that believes her, and so they create a monster ninja human being who is a ripoff of Jim Carrey's the character in The Mask, like right down to like the design and the behavior and how the guy's acting and everything. I mean, he literally is like acting like Jim Carrey in The Mask.
You're beautiful. Oh, come on. Come on. I just lick your neck. I'd love to lick your neck. I'd love to. Can I just eat your face? Can I just kiss you? Kiss me? Yeah. Please, come on. Oh, come on. Just give me a little bit. Can I eat your nostrils out? Would you like that? But you never had that happen to you, have you? Those eyes are beautiful. They're wonderful. God, I just love to stare into them all day. Yeah, I'm hypnotizing you, huh? Yeah, I have that magnetic electro personality, huh? You're falling under my gaze, huh? Yeah, you find me sexy? You find me attractive? How about if I sit like this, huh? You like this, huh? Hey, whoa!
And then they go to have like a big fight that never happens. That is not in the movie. And then they like go to rape her again, and then it's over. It's a piece of work. You get Kit Natividad like trying to, like does a strip scene, and it's more explicit than you expect. There's a scene towards the beginning where this really monstrously obese dude dressed in like a adult baby outfit and like a...
Are you hungry? You want something to eat? Is that your teddy bear?
His friend like kill and then rape this woman after she's dead. All of this sounds more hideous than it is because the movie is so poorly made that none of this can be taken seriously. If this was taken seriously, you'd be like, oh my god, this is the most offensive thing I've ever seen. I can't believe they're doing this. But instead, it's just so bad that you're just like, you can't take your eyes off of it and your jaw's on the floor that people made it. But at the same time, you're just like, why? And you're like, and did 5th graders make this? And then you feel bad for Stephanie Beaton because she's like being pawed and groped by like like fat dudes dressed as zombies, and you're like, okay, I hope you got paid really well, which I kind of doubt that she did. You just kind of wonder about the diseased misogynist mind who came up with it, who was like scratching his head one day going, I've got a great idea. They're zombies, but they're rapists. And then every other guy in the movie's a rapist too, because them bitches deserve it. Yeah, that's what happens. Those bitches deserve it. Yeah. And I really like The Mask, so that guy can be in there too. So yeah, put out by Sub Rosa Studios, who are now SRS Studios, because at that time SRS would put out fucking anything, even though they put out my movie, but maybe that goes to show that they'll put out anything. It says it's an erotic thriller. If you found that erotic, I worry about you. So, bangers. Zombie gangbangers. Apparently there's an alternate cut. Here's a slip of the tongue. Alternate cut called Zombie Ninja Gangbangers, where I guess there's like some of the sex footage cut out and fight ninja footage cut in. Never seen it. My diseased brain would actually watch it. And the dude made another movie called Unnaturally Born Killer that I actually have, and my friend Alan sent to me, and I've tried to kind of watch it a little bit, and it's a tougher go than this. It's not even really funny. This is at least funny. So yeah, you VHS collector, bad movie watching motherfuckers out there, this is my challenge to you. Find it, watch it, savor it. I dare you.
You don't know what it's like to be raped by zombies.
Thanks for watching the launch episode of Exploitation Nation. Hope you enjoyed it. I've certainly enjoyed doing it again. Be sure to check out the stuff at the blog over at exploitationnation2.blogspot.com. We had to have a 2 in there because we used to be at today.com, and then they sold today.com. So that's why there's a 2 there. If you're watching this on that blog, then you know all the cool goodies we have there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then be sure to go check it out. If you're watching this on TV, be sure to check all that stuff out. Lots of good stuff. You can find us on YouTube at Exploitation Nation. No 2. So otherwise, glad you checked it out. Hope you enjoyed it. And give me some feedback, you know, exploitationnation2@gmail.com. And I will check you guys out soon. Thanks for watching.